Welcome back. Welcome to the start of a new anime review series. This is reviewing the series Arifureta. I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, Arifureta. Yes. This is reviewing the first 5 episodes of the series, which adapt the first book of this light novel series. The full name of the series is Arifureta from Commonplace to World's Strongest. Yes, I have read about basically the critical reception of the series, and it's mixed at best. I've heard some people say this is a terrible anime. Some say it's good. Okay, my feelings on what I see for the animation. It looks good except for the monsters. The monsters look freaking terrible in this series. It's like they try to make these creatures CGI, and apparently they probably didn't have money in their budget in order to make this stuff. Now, the main character is Hejima, a Japanese man, a Japanese teenager. Now, what basically got me into this series is the interesting premise. Now, the whole thing of basically when it comes to isekai, basically a guy with a bunch of women. Yep. But this is not one or two, three people. This is a whole entire high school class transported to another world. Now, here's the thing. The episode itself does not start with the first chapter. Nope. Believe it or not, the sequence they show in the light novel, which has the classroom get transported to this world, is never shown in these episodes. Except for the opening title sequence for some strange reason. I have no idea why in the world this is. And also, it's like when you watch the series, it's kind of like, wait, where's episode, where like, you start episode 1, like, wait, we're starting here, where's the, like, it's like we're at episode 2, even though this is episode 1. It's quite strange how the series did this. Well, they start with chapter 2 of all things. You have Hejima and his class, basically, who were transported to this world by some church to battle demons. That's really the purpose they brought them here. A whole entire high school class, including their smoking hot teacher. Yep. And the teacher herself only appears, she appears in 2 of these episodes. Mostly she's there just to complain about her students. That's really the purpose of her in these episodes. You have Hejima along with a couple girls who are very close to him. And they're basically on the 65th floor of this labyrinth. I'm thinking, wait, 65th floor of a labyrinth. Yeah, it's like this series is trying to be like, not that one. It's like, oh yeah, is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon? It's very similar. It's a very tiny little premise they took from that series and put in this one. Differences between that series, which is I have right here, book 11, which I'm going to read that soon. Yeah, difference is this series so far has released 11 books, while in the case of this series, 15 but 14 released here. Here, I think almost all the books released here. I think the first 6 released physically, of course. Now, the book that these 5 episodes adapt from, yeah, it is roughly. This is the very first book of a series. For a light novel, this was quite lengthy to read. The book basically, the amount of pages this book had was 396 pages. The reason why it was that length, because you had normal 5 or normal about 6 chapters, plus an epilogue, plus 2 bonus stories. Yep, I am not kidding about that. And yeah, so they get down to the 6th floor and they battle a behemoth. And they're sort of overwhelmed, so they have to retreat. But then we see one of the classmates who was a priest. Now they show in flashback that she basically was asked by him. He asked her to protect him, and he ended up protecting her. And now the thing is, the actor who voices Hijimi in the English dub, I've never heard of before. Nope, the guy who voices him is. Let's see if I can find him here. He goes by the name of. If I can get him here. Matt Shippen. I think I've seen it before. Yeah. The teacher. Akano is voiced by Emily Virgil. the one, and they also have a swordswoman whose name is Setsuko. Yeah, she's voiced by Katie Bristol, the one who always with Hijima. Corey, she's voiced by Skylar McIntosh. Yeah. Now, there's some characters who haven't appeared yet. I haven't got to them yet. Yeah. And he's basically protecting her, and then one of his classmates does something really stupid. He decides, while basically using his power to take the behemoth, he directs one of his attacks to take out the area where Hijima is, causing him to fall down an abyss. Looks like he fell about 5 floors, but he lives. Yep. And they'll think he's dead. Yes. I read about this. Yeah, this is part of the premise of the series. Yeah, one of the classmates betrays him, and he basically is like a scaredy cat, and then he gets his arm bitten off by a monster, and then he basically gets angry and basically traps some monster wolves. These actually have pretty good animation, like in a hole, and he eats the meat raw, and then his body changes, where he basically ends up putting on muscle mass. Like, it looks like, thanks to think, he ended up putting on about, I'd say, 10 pounds of muscle, and his hair changed from black to white. And if you look at any images of the series of this character, his hair always remains white. If you're thinking about his outfit he wears, if you look up basically picture this guy, that doesn't show up to episode number 5. Yes. So he basically is just killing a lot of monsters and eating them to gain more power. And throughout the first episode, he's constantly looking at his stats. Yes, he did this in the book as well. A lot. It seemed like he did this every 10 pages of the book. I had to keep constantly looking at his stats. That's how he was. And it's like this. He also takes time to develop himself a pistol. Yes, a pistol. Basically a revolver that fires 6 shots. Basically, he's one of those things where it's not like he had to put like each individual one. It's like a little like round thing. He would just put it in one. And he used to take out a bunch of monsters. And at the end of the first episode, we see the first appearance of Yui, the beautiful princess, vampire princess, who has the body of a 12-year-old despite the fact being much older than she looks. Yep. She makes her first appearance at the end of the episode. And in episode 2, we have Hijima, who had basically developed, who had went after the creature, took his arm, killed the creature, first by chopping off the creature's own arm as payback, and then he proceeds to eat the creature's meat and skin him. Make him a coat. Yep. Makes him a coat. Also, the coat he was wearing, it's the arm that got ripped off, the sleeves still got a lot of blood on it. He wears his coat up until episode 5 when he stops wearing it. Yeah, he pretty much is stuck in the same outfit the whole time in these 5 episodes up until the last one. And after getting through more monsters, he comes across a very strange door. He figures they'll maybe use, and basically his power is transmutation, which is a low rank but quite useful. It's more like a defensive magic. And he tried using the door, doesn't work. Ends up awakening the guards of the door, which he kills after 5 minutes. Shoots them a bunch of times. Takes their keys. Opens up, walks inside, sees Yui. Yui, I should point out, though, is completely naked while being sealed. And he's like, you must be sealed for some reason. I'm going. And she's like, wait, free me, please. I was betrayed. And he's like, wait, you were betrayed? Okay. And then he uses his gun to free her. And we see her we pretty much see her completely naked. And one of a few times throughout this whole entire episode, we actually with our clothes on. Yeah, and well, he also looks at her naked. Now, despite the fact, appearance-wise, she looks like she's about 5 years younger than he is. She's over 300 years old. Yep. Of course, he gives her the fur that he was using to cover himself up as basically her personal coat. First, they kind of wrapped around her, on her shoulders, and then she just tied her on like she's wearing a towel. And she basically wears this up until episode 5. Yeah, wearing this fur to cover up her nude body. Now, they do have a slight wording change, basically because she called him a pervert in the book. I should point out, in the anime, she's voiced by Tina Bedard. Awesome voice actress. She's known for voicing Happy from Fairy Tail. This is probably the 14th series overall I've heard of it. Fantastic voice actress. And great choice to voice what appears to be a little girl. And then you have, like, at the end of one of the episodes, like, after they kill some monsters, like, time to relax. Like, she wants to eat, or she has to drink some of his blood. And then she proceeds to take out the fur and proceed to do with him well, not have sex anyways. That happens later on. Off screen, mind you. You're probably thinking, wait, a 17-year-old having sex with a 12-year-old? Well, she's over 300 years old, so it's an exception. Despite the fact that she has the body of a 12-year-old, he has no problem with it at all because she's older than he is. So it's perfectly fine. Despite the fact if the guy basically came to the U.S., he'd probably be charged with statutory rape. Yes, he probably would be charged with that. Or at least child molestation. But since he's over 300, it won't be much of a problem. Yeah. So, they spend the next few episodes battling a bunch of monsters. Then episode 4, they battle a boss. Yes, a boss. Of course, he also explains, like, pretty much the backstory. Of course, they don't show a flashback of how they got to this particular world. They show after they got there, but they didn't show the stuff that came before that. I'm not really sure why they won't show that in the actual anime. Maybe they'll show that in 5.5. I don't know. It's a summary of basically what's happened since episode 1. I'll probably watch it as soon as I basically finish this review. And they battle a boss of the place. They also mention a Maverick, basically. He shows up in episode 5. The boss they fight is a 4-headed snake, which the colors are red, green, blue, and white. Actually, it was red, yellow, blue, and white. Yeah, red is for attack, yellow is for defense. I think, like, white is for healing. And I'm not sure blue does. They don't really say. And they battle this creature for a long period of time, and during this battle, Henchman loses his right eye in this battle. Yep, this is another thing, basically, that the images probably see, is how he loses his eye. And eventually, and of course, he also took time prior to this, he made himself a big, what looks like an elephant gun. Yes, an elephant gun, or at least like a big rifle. And he used this thing, also thanks to Yui's special magic, to destroy this snake, though he got wounded in the process. Though, how they kill the snake is quite interesting. He ends up basically jumping in the air because he has a special ability to airwalk, fire a bunch of holes, like 3 holes in the ceiling, put grenades there. Yes, he also took the time to make up flash grenades, plus actual grenades. You know, if you ever seen them, like those classic, like almost like smaller ones they use in World War II, where they have a little pin where they pull it out and it's like a little ball. He puts in like those 3 holes, fires at them, and then brings down the ceiling on top of the remaining snake head after he already killed like 3 of the heads. And then he proceeds to use transformation to use spikes to kill the creature finally. And then he collapses, probably due to blood loss. And then Yui picks him up because she's a vampire. She's got super strength. There was also another thing prior to this where they run away from dinosaurs with flowers in their heads, and they come across the creature who was responsible for it. A plant woman who looks like she's the show's version of Poison Ivy. Yep. Of course, he makes no attempt basically to try to say, "Hey, you're hot." I mean, this plant woman basically looks like she's got a hot body, but she's a plant. And he's like, well, he would not fire. He also basically, like, apparently, you would give permission to fire at her, even though he basically was waiting for permission, because if he did without permission, she would get angry. And the creature was later destroyed. And he proceeded to use her child strength to basically punch him in the gut. Yeah, I thought that was quite funny. After the snake battle, he wakes up in a bed, and both him and her basically are both naked. No, they do not have sex. the reason why he's naked is because she stripped him because his clothes were dirty. Okay, fine. Plus, she also can bandage up his wounds, basically his banged up arm and his eye. And they just have to find some clothes, and they apparently they look like 17th century style clothes, especially with the puffy collars. He puts on like a shirt, and she puts on a shirt that she would wear. Like, if you've ever seen the cover of the light novel for the series, the shirt she wears in this episode, in episode 5, that's the shirt she wears for pretty much the rest of the series, and it's the shirt she's wearing on the cover. She doesn't put on pants or later. She's basically just wearing a shirt. He goes to the mansion, and they find a mansion there. Oh yeah, and also it looks like an open air, which this is probably another thing that the writer probably borrowed from this series. A floor basically was kind of like, it looked like open air, not like a dungeon or a labyrinth per se. And they go in, of course there's some locked doors, and then they go to the 3rd floor. They find the owner of the place, who's been dead for a long period of time. And he says his name is Oscar. Of course, he steps on a magic circle. He sees a recording. I'm thinking, do these people have like technology that can record stuff? It's with magic. So he basically explains that a lot of the stuff that he was told was all a bunch of big fat lies, and he basically gave him 2 things: a spell, creation magic, which is very useful, and basically the true history. Yep. And he also, and of course they decide, of course they have Yui try to learn it too, but it doesn't really work. And it's, okay, we can't leave the body here, so let's just bury it. Okay, just have to bury it. But, and of course they mentioned they need his ring to locks up, use the magic circle. But Hinderman's like, lucky enough, basically, I took it before we buried his corpse. Yeah, smart move to do that. And they unlock the place, and it's not like they're ready to go, but he's like, not yet, we need to learn everything. And like, okay, we need to prepare for everything of these other labyrinths. And we have a montage of stuff, basically him getting his outfit that he would wear, his special. Apparently, he also, like, under his eye patch, it's a jewel underneath. He puts that probably to fill the eye because there's no eyeball there. He puts the eye patch there, puts on the outfit he would wear. He also took the time to make himself a metal arm to replace the arm that was basically bitten off back in episode 1. He also apparently built himself a Humvee. Yes, a Humvee. Yeah, he used creation magic to create a freaking Humvee of all things. I thought that was kind of funny. A Humvee. Yeah. And that's a military vehicle. Imagine seeing a vampire driving around in that thing. I thought that it was so funny. And then the last episode ends. Oh, before I continue to get to the end of the episode, there is a scene that I'm not surprised they included it. Like, because they come across a hot spring. He's like, okay, I'll do so later, and he's like relaxing, and then you see her coming in. Of course, she's completely naked. And then apparently off screen, this is where Yui takes Hijima's virginity. Or at least the way they describe it in the light novel, his chastity. So yes, this is something that she would do. Yeah, she's the one that seduced him, not the other way around. Also, here's the thing. During the battle with the snake, he gave her her first kiss. Yep, he gave her her first kiss. And it was his first kiss as well. And then they kind of reversed it where she kissed him. And that was episode 4, and in episode 5 they have sex. Okay, and then the episode finally ends with them transporting a magic circle to wherever they pick up, basically what they dive in book 2, start with episode 6, where they introduce a new character. Also, what are the rest of the classmates up to? So basically, mourning for his death. The priest basically is in bed for 5 days asleep. Everybody's all training, and then they go back to the dungeon, the labyrinth, excuse me. And they go down 6th, 5th floor, battled Behemoth again, and thanks to a lot of combining spells and a lot of good teamwork, they able to defeat the damn thing. Of course, you see I think the guy who's very cowardly, I think he was the one who actually tried to kill Hijima, and they go press forward. Imagine when they reunite later, because what I read, they do reunite, but not at this point. Yeah. Otherwise, though, good set of episodes. I would say the only weakness of these 5 episodes is the fact they skipped over Chapter 1 and the poor animation on the monsters. Otherwise, though, the writing of these 5 episodes is really good. Keeps a lot of stuff in the light novel, which is good. I kind of think we needed an episode 0 to kind of basically adapt chapter 1 for the series. It's kind of dumb they skipped over that, and they adapt bits of it later, flashback. It's like, okay, so you don't start off with them in the real world before they get transported here. A lot of other series I've watched have done this. The only other series I can think of that actually is similar to this, where they don't show up in the they did all the other series I've watched, which had these little transport things. The only one I can think of that did not start off in the real world, besides from this one, is "And or My Smartphone." Yeah, it mentioned what happens of it in the real world off screen, but the thing is, that was basically how it was done in the light novel. Here, it's like they skipped over that first portion, the first chapter, on purpose. Unknown why they did it for, but they did. It's quite strange. So yeah, that's it for this particular review. Stay tuned for my review for the next 2 episodes of the series with that book 2. Yes, a book that was much shorter than book 1. And from what I heard, they pretty much kind of trimmed it down, or at least trying to summarize what happened in book 2 in just 2 episodes. You'll get my thoughts on that soon, and plus maybe a comment corner, okay? See you next video. Bye.